the first automobile in the world. You are sure to have heard of it. And this is what it looks like. In 1886, Carl Benz was granted a patent for his motor car. No proper steering wheel, a narrow bench to sit on, only 3 wheels and no body. 130 years ago, this is what the future looked like. Two years after its invention, the patent motor car, now improved, was ready for an endurance test. Bertha Benz knew her husband. He would never have agreed. No problem for Bertha. Early one August morning, she simply drove off secretly along with her 2 sons to visit her mother in the town of Pforzheim, approximately 100 kilometers away. By the time Carl got out of bed, they were far away and unreachable. The journey might not have been easy, but it sure was successful. That evening, the 3 adventurers had reached their destination. It was a huge success. Bertha Benz had proven that her husband's invention worked perfectly. She had faith, and her faith did not let her down. Bertha and her husband then lived to see the automobile become a success and change the world. Today, once again, we are standing at a turning point just before a new technological era. The F015 luxury in motion Mercedes-Benz research vehicle points towards the future. And I have just as much faith in this vehicle as Bertha Benz had back then, looking back upon 130 years of skilled engineering. Take me to Luisenstraße in Pforzheim. From 1894 onwards, things really got going for motorists, because up until then, they had steered their vehicles using a steering lever. That's precisely what Bertha Benz did in 1888 when she drove the patent motor car from Mannheim to Pforzheim. The circular steering wheel changed everything. The next important step was the arrival of the diagonally positioned steering column in the Mercedes. All this made motoring more precise and more intuitive, and it allowed far higher speeds. And people's faith in the automobile increased. The steering wheel became the perfect interface between man and machine. It was one of the innovations that made driving a car simpler. The early Mercedes models were called simplex for just that reason. That was the Latin word for simple or easy. Up until this day, no significant change has been made to this one brilliant invention. But you can make a good thing better. In the past, you needed strong muscles to steer vehicles, such as this truck, for example. The invention of power steering made steering even easier, but that was just the beginning. Today, we use the steering wheel to determine far more than just the direction we're going in. Thanks to new touch buttons, the steering wheel has become a multimedia command station. In an increasing number of situations, the car of the future will become more and more partially automated, or will even be able to drive highly autonomously. The Mercedes-Benz F015 luxury in motion research vehicle has shown how it's done. In 2016, the E-Class already took the next step on the road to autonomous driving. It can drive partially autonomously and combines this feature with numerous accident prevention systems. After all, the Mercedes-Benz aim of autonomous driving is inexorably linked with the vision of accident-free driving, a vision they have already been pursuing for many years. good light and good visibility. This is how Mercedes-Benz ensures safety, even in the dark and in bad weather. The story behind this is an exciting one of technological innovations from the early days of the automobile to today. Well over 110 years ago, this was the measure of things. Pretty, but not much brighter than a candle at a candlelight dinner. Cars were getting faster and faster. This Mercedes-Benz SS model right here from 1930 could already reach speeds of 190 kilometers per hour. And for that era, that was tremendously fast. The lighting technology had to keep pace with this so that the driver could also see in the dark. Diffusing lenses and reflectors helped to get the most from the available light. The story behind this is an exciting one of technological innovations spanning decades. It kicked off with the candle and acetylene. Benz already had electric lighting in 1915. In 1968, twin halogen headlamps were introduced. In the mid-1990s, this field really took off. Xenon, bi-xenon, active light functions, curve light, cornering light. This is the state-of-the-art that guides us through the night today. And now, there are also LED headlamps. The latest technology from Mercedes-Benz today is the multi-beam LED. This always ensures ideal illumination of the road, even in bends. It offers maximum range without dazzling other road users. This all represents the pinnacle of light and visibility technology at present. One day, cars may not need headlamps anymore, or at least not the ones we know now. Even now, cars can detect their environment better than humans. They can see using an array of reliable sensors. The advantage of these is that they do not tire or lose concentration. The F015 Luxury in Motion already uses light in a completely different way. For example, it can project a crosswalk onto the road to allow pedestrians to cross.
Please go ahead.
Now these boys right here, they may not be very talkative, but they are truly heroic. We've got a lot to thank them for. They endure so much to ensure our safety. Crash test dummies take the place of humans in accident tests. Their sensors show what would happen to your body in the event of a crash. This data helps engineers make improvements in the so-called passive safety of vehicles. Mercedes-Benz has been using dummies since 1959.
Diese Rakete beschleunigt die Versuchswagen bis auf 100 Stundenkilometer. Die Fahrerpuppe ist in ihren Eigenschaften dem menschlichen Körper nachgebildet.
The first one was called Oscar.
3, 2, 1, 0.
One of his bosses was Bela Barani. The engineer was the driving force behind a good many revolutionary inventions. He was granted around 2,500 patents. With inventions such as the steering column and especially the safety body, he tremendously improved passive safety.
Vorn und hinten stoßnachgiebige Knautschzonen. In der Mitte die steife Sicherheitszone, der Fahrgastraum.
The idea was that passengers sit in a stable zone. In front of them and behind them, there were crumple zones, which absorb energy in an accident by bending and crumpling. In 1981, the airbag came along to start bringing safety into the distant future. Depending on the severity of the crash and depending on the type of crash, airbags can be activated in a fraction of a second. Together with seatbelts, they protect passengers even better than before. With a Mercedes-Benz, you are always on the safe side. In addition to excellent crash worthiness, the new E-Class also features active safety systems that can help to avoid a crash or mitigate the severity of an impact. When it was developed, the engineers relied on computer models, but they also spent a lot of time working with their reliable workmates. This is how cadence braking works. That's what we learned back then from our driving instructors for braking maneuvers on snow-covered bends. But then came along 3 letters to bring us additional safety: ABS. The anti-lock braking system is one of the most important innovations by Mercedes-Benz. Its advantages are so convincing that today there is hardly a car without ABS. And what does it do? This. In many standard situations, ABS brakes better than humans can.
Das Anti-Blockiersystem ist ein neuer Beitrag zur besseren Anpassung der Technik an das Leistungsvermögen der Menschen.
At the beginning of the 1970s, testing was carried out in this experimental safety vehicle. Incidentally, the ABS had its breakthrough thanks to a technology completely new at the time.
Diese Sensoren übertragen die Signale an ein elektronisches Steuergerät, das in Digitaltechnik arbeitet.
Digital electronics. You can hardly imagine it today. A world without computers, screens, or apps? Truly retro. Digital electronics combine high recognition and control speeds with great reliability. This forms the functional basis of the system and is also the reason we trust the system to this present day. ABS was the first digital control system in the car. Now, there are many of them. They work closely together and are supported by a number of sensors. For example, there is a radar sensor placed quite discreetly right behind the Mercedes star. Some cars are even networked with each other and share safety-relevant information. This is done via secure cloud functions, the result being maximum safety. And Mercedes-Benz has made another step towards the brand's big aim: completely accident-free driving. Where am I, and how do I get to my destination? These are questions drivers have always had to ask. And for a long time, the passenger answered because he or she was the navigator with a map in their hands. In the early days of the car, the passenger even had to be a multi-talent and, for example, pump petrol or operate an oil distributor, like these right here. Dennis Jenkinson from Britain was a truly legendary passenger. He was the co-driver to Mercedes-Benz racing driver Stirling Moss at the 1955 Mille Miglia race.
Mille Miglia, Jagd über 1000 Meilen, Volksfest Italiens.
Jenkinson created a road book for the Italian road race. Stirling Moss then used it to win the Mille Miglia and the Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR in record time.
Stirling Moss auf 300 SLR fährt einen Durchschnitt von 157 Kilometern. Ein neuer, fast unglaublicher Rekord. 10 Stunden, 7 Minuten für 1000 Meilen.
Today, the car itself has long taken over the role of the navigator. We now place our trust in it just as Stirling Moss trusted his co-driver. Today, it warns us of dangerous situations and actively supports us, all the way from overtaking maneuvers to simple parking. The future is clear. The car can find its way better and faster than any human with a map in their hands. These are all basic elements of autonomous driving. Mercedes-Benz has been conducting research in this field for almost 30 years. At Prometheus, the European research project, Mercedes-Benz cars first drove autonomously on a motorway at the beginning of the 1990s. This is the state of progress today. Even better and more precise digital map data is provided by the HERE project, in which Daimler participates. They are particularly important for autonomous driving because they tell the car where it needs to go. In the future, navigation will be even more a matter of course than today. Driver and passenger will have more time to look out of the window or occupy themselves in other ways. actually start heading towards the future? The answer is simple: since the very beginning. Ever since 1886, it has been constantly redefining itself, just as is the case with the Mercedes-Benz F015 Luxury in Motion. The research vehicle shows a future where autonomous driving will be run off the mill. This will enable new interior concepts. I can either do the driving myself, or I can let myself be driven and enjoy the entertainment offering, or talk to the other passengers. Autonomous driving as a comprehensive assistance function could look like this. Research vehicles have a long tradition at Mercedes-Benz. Each one has helped to reveal important technology for later production vehicles. For example, Distronic Adaptive Cruise Control, or Keyless Go, and the rain sensor, 1991 in the F100. The active light function and the active body control active suspension, 1996 in the F200. Or Magic Body Control, the latest suspension control system and LED lighting, 2007 in the F700. Within each new Mercedes-Benz lies the entire 130-year-long corporate knowledge about the automobile. Before the invention by Daimler and Benz, right up to today. Hard to imagine, but absolutely unique. The next big step will be autonomous driving. Gradually, the respective functions for it are going to become part of series production. The new E-Class, with all its accident prevention systems, is a very important milestone here. In the future, motoring will be different from yesterday and different from today. The Mercedes-Benz research vehicles are always a few years ahead of their time. What a race through the history of the automobile. But where are we now? Oh yeah, in 2016. Carl Benz and Gottlieb Daimler invented the automobile 130 years ago. Thus, no other manufacturer has a longer history than Mercedes-Benz. The E-Class is one of the brand's youngest cars. It contains a huge amount of experience gained in over 130 years. And that makes it fit for the future. Wow. Now there's a place you can really feel good and safe. And that applies to millions of people all over the world every day. They trust the car, and they entrust themselves to it, regardless of whether it's their own car they are driving themselves, or a taxi in which they are being driven, or whether the car will drive itself in the future and safely get us to our destination. The best or nothing. This has been the Mercedes-Benz motto for 130 years. And it's a message with a future for autonomous, accident-free driving in a car we trust, just as from the very beginning.